Hi, we have with us Andrew DeLonge, Intelligence Solutions Architect at Anomali, to talk to us about the unique threats facing the Middle East and what businesses can do to remain protected. Tell us, when it comes to cyber threats, what are organizations in the Middle East up against?
Well, I mean, the Middle East in general, and the UAE where we are based, the threat landscape has evolved quite significantly in the last couple of years because of the digitization. So the threats that the world have been facing have kind of migrated to the Middle East, and with the massive influx of businesses that are popping up across the Middle East, I mean, the Middle East is becoming a bit of a business hub, right? And a lot of companies are coming here and moving their activities here, which increases the likelihood of a cyber event. So the general threats that have been in existence for so long, the social engineering threats like phishing, the malware threats like ransomware, which is a big thing currently. There's a lot of ransomware attacks happening globally. These things all kind of filter down. But then you have a more significant nation state type of threat as well, which we've been seeing a lot of, and a lot of activity, especially around like the solar winds attack. But more focused in the Middle East, we have got the threat groups like the oil rig or APT 34 threat group that are that are likely from Iran. So we have that specific regional threat also. So look, going after government data, going after financial services, they seem to be going across many verticals and doing some widespread attacks over there. So yeah, it's quite a significant job to try and juggle these attacks that are coming from all sides.
Yes, absolutely. So, I mean, has the global pandemic changed the threat landscape across the region? I mean, I know it has changed, but how much has it changed?
Oh, absolutely. With everyone kind of working remotely, we predicted this back when this whole thing started, that the social engineering threat where you have got these pandemic themed or COVID-19 themed lures being sent in email, which would obviously compel people to click on that. So those social engineering campaigns have significantly spiked. And now with the added, let's call it bonus to the cyber attackers, that people are working from home, which means that in many instances, working from home policies and security policies that have regard to working from home, they aren't in place. So you have got these kind of weak points now where you have got people that are so spread across and trying to access work resources, but in many instances, they don't have access to VPN, corporate VPNs. They don't have access to the corporate protection, where which the companies have obviously spent a lot of money on to make sure that the perimeter is protected and the assets inside the perimeter are well protected. Now all of a sudden you take those assets out of the network and you have to now do business. So this has increased. I mean, the ease of attacks has just increased so much. Now, adding on top of that, after a year of 2020 where there was a massive pandemic, all of a sudden in 2021, these high profile data breaches and these high profile attacks are coming to the front. Like, obviously FireEye discovered that they were affected by the solar winds. Now I mean, we're not naming solar winds here, but at the end of the day, that's what kind of is synonymous with the attack that happened there. And then now the very recent Microsoft Hafnium malware that we're seeing. These are very sophisticated nation state and highly dangerous cyber attackers that are attacking and breaching companies all over the place. Security companies are even being breached. I mean, you can count, I mean, on two hands almost now, and we're not even halfway into the year, how many high profile breaches have occurred. So if you think kind of 2020 was the layup, I think 2021 is definitely not there's going to be a lot more interesting things that are going to come out, I believe.
Absolutely, absolutely. Um, Now, Anomaly provides organizations with access to threat intelligence. So, can you tell us something more about what threat intelligence is and what the Anomaly offerings are?
Sure. So threat intelligence is a is a broad concept. Now, threat intelligence, think about it just in terms of those two words, threat intelligence, just being a bit more smarter about what it is you are trying to do when it comes to using data to protect your organization. So you have got vendors in the market that are purely providing threat data. So they have got sensors across the globe, and they're collecting a whole bunch of threat data, and then they push that down into a feed, so a threat feed. So you'll see vendors that sell threat feeds or threat intelligence feeds, and then you'll see vendors that provide access to their threat intelligence portals. You will see things like open source intelligence. Now, the in its own kind of standing on its own, a threat feed is not intelligence, but a threat feed in a contextual environment where you bring it inside of your environment and take that with your internal telemetry data and kind of marrying the context and everything together, all of a sudden you're starting to look at threats more intelligently. Now, that's in a kind of a brush stroke as I would define threat intelligence. Now, adding adding data on top of threat information, because threat data, which is a feed, turns into threat information when you contextualize it, and then kind of making it more applicable to yourself and to your own organization, that turns it into threat intelligence. And for that, you'd need an actual program with human analysts and people that can actually do something with the data. Now, where Anomaly fits into that picture is we provide the technology that supports that. So our technology is an enabler for a threat intelligence program. So, I mean, if you think about our platforms, we have got, so we're kind of a 3 solution company at this point. We have got ThreatStream, which is our threat intelligence platform, where basically all the situational awareness threat data from what we collect, from what our partners collect, and we have a massive partner ecosystem of the threat intelligence provider vendors out there, from what they collect, and we can give access to our customers very quickly and very easily to that specific data from our side or from our partner ecosystem side, as long as they obviously have licenses. Then we have the match solution, which takes that data and brings that into your organization. So now what you're doing is you're bringing it and not just integrating it by protecting yourself and putting it into like a firewall rule. You're actually bringing that data into your environment, into our match solution, and then match runs real-time correlation against the threat intelligence that you have inside of your environment and the threat intelligence situational awareness data that you are collecting via our platform or some other platform that you may have access to. And then we have the Lens natural language processor plugin that can bring those two things together. Now, there are some resources on the internet which we will share that people can go and have a view on how to deal with, for example, like hafnium, and do something that an analyst, a threat analyst would do and would take them days to do. We can basically do that in kind of a minute or so. So that's kind of where we stand. So Anomaly provides the access to the tool sets that can make lives a lot easier for a threat analyst and for a security team. But what we also do is we provide guidance on how to build a program. So we have got skilled people that have been building threat intelligence programs for many years. I myself come from a customer side when I used to live in South Africa. So I was working in the banking sector in South Africa, and I built threat intelligence programs for my own companies that I worked for. And now after joining Anomaly, we do that for our customers as well. So we have massive success by that approach because building a program isn't as easy as just putting a technology down and then walking away from it. It's building a program, putting a technology down, and then making sure the technology is being used as an enabler, and also the processes are being driven by threat intelligence. So if you have a threat intelligence team, they need to be plugged into the organization, and we provide the guidance and the assistance to our customers to make sure that there's a successful threat intelligence program inside of their environment, not just looking at what tools they're using.
Right, right. So it sounds like threat intelligence is more about, than just a single solution. So how important are partnerships in this whole space?
Absolutely vital. In terms of vendor partnerships, like we have an extensive vendor partner ecosystem, which makes it easy for vendors to work with us and for us to work with vendors. But looking away from that, if you are looking to build a threat intelligence program, the partnerships that we're talking about there are sharing communities. So threat threat data and threat intelligence information and kind of things that you detect on your network, that's not going to give you the upper hand competitively against, for example, if you are a bank and that there's obviously commercial banks, multiple commercial banks. If one bank decides to share with all the other banks some threat data that they have, or they can help that can help the community grow, that is absolutely monumental. Because once you can set up these sharing communities, now these are industry sharing communities that we run within our platform called Trusted Circles. And you see a lot of these ISACs kind of popping up. These are just communities. I mean, people have communities on their phones. So, where you have one analyst from one company and another analyst from another company sharing information back and forth. There's no intellectual property being shared. There's no actual competitive edge being handed over to my competitor. The thing that's happening is that we are fighting a fight against an attacker or an adversary that doesn't care about policy, or how how do we, what do we call this, things like not being able to share data, the red tape. They don't care about the red tape. They don't sit through change controls. These guys are just always trying to fire the bullets. We're always trying to deflect the bullets. Now if my detection can help another bank inside of the UAE, for example, and this is where we have got the UBF sharing platform, which is driven by Anomali. So we have got the UBF and the banks inside of that community that can share threat intelligence with each other to make sure that they are well protected. This creates a stability in terms of the financial sector as a whole. And that's essentially what you need to do. Is if you're going to go up against very, very skilled attackers, you need to be able to defend against them. And if I can't defend on my own, I need people behind me, and I need obviously a community behind me that can help me defend. Because today I'm going to find something that can help another bank or another organization. I'm just using banks as an example because banks are kind of at the forefront of sharing. So if I'm one government organization and I share information with another government organization in the Middle East, those two things are imperative, right? So those two things about sharing data back and forth is something that can absolutely give the upper hand. So, I mean, long answer to your very short question. Sharing is caring, basically, and we should all kind of think about doing that when it comes to cyber threats.
Right. And Anomaly has a very active presence in the region. So can you tell us about some of your customers here?
Sure. We service customers across all business verticals. These are customers that are, like I said previously, from banking to government to customers that are in retail space. So we don't focus on a specific vertical. Obviously, threat intelligence and our platform does not specifically need to be in a specific business vertical. So we service a lot of different customers over. They all have what we call PIRs, called prioritized intelligence requirements, and that's one of the key reasons why we are so successful, is because we help to build these PIRs for them. So a bank and a government organization won't have the same PIR. There might be some overlap in terms of like the regional threats that are targeting them because they're in the Middle East, but there are some other factors that may be more important for a government organization than there will be for a financial organization. Provide them with the skills and the know-how to basically build on their platform. So Some of our customers, we have got in Saudi Arabia, for example, we have a big presence there with telecommunications. We have got the UBF Banking Federation, ISAC, that's driven by Anomali here. We have got obviously, customers across oil and gas. About us that it's good to say, or it's nice to say that you are good or you have a good product, but when your customers do that for you, and you just receive a phone call that someone else is wanting to partner with you, there's money can't buy that. So we are absolutely driven for our customers, and we are absolutely thankful to all of our customers for making us what we are, not just in the region but globally. So yeah, and hopefully we can continue on this same route.